Held out of the end zone, an ugly loss for the Arizona Cardinals, who now lock into a dogfight for the division, Johnny Venerable.
Is Kyler Murray hurt? We'll find out that and more live from Gila River. Cards post-game show starts now. Hello and welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals post-game show live from Gila River Resorts and Casinos at Wild Horse Pass. I'm Johnny Venerable, the playmaker, former Arizona Cardinal wide receiver Brittan Golden, co-host Brack, Damon, Dawg, producer extraordinaire behind the mic. This post-game show brought to you by our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, as well as our friends at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app today. Use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer. Find out why. It's never ordinary with our friends at Bet365. And an unordinary game today, BG, for the Arizona Cardinals. They dropped their first division game of the year, falling 16-6 at Seattle, moving to 6-5 on the year. Defense played well, gave up one touchdown, a couple field goals. Kyler Murray, the offense, it was a different story. K1 was sacked 5 times. We're going to talk about, was it the wrong decision to insert Jonah Williams in the lineup? Is Kyler Murray healthy? Bo, this offense, to me, I thought we had gotten on track pre-bye with a team that was averaging close to 30 points per game. Big regression day for Drew Petzing's unit.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, and yeah, you're right. I mean, credit to the Seattle Seahawks, by the way. They did play very well, especially in the secondary and up front. Their defensive line was dominant most of the game. But, yeah, it was disappointing to see the Arizona Cardinals you thought would have been fresh and ready to roll, hit the ground running in this one, and just were shut out of the end zone the entire game. You know, you had a couple opportunities, couple things break Seattle's way. You have the Paris Johnson Jr. holding on that calls back the Michael Wilson touchdown, and then Marvin Harrison Jr. can't get his both feet in bounds despite him hitting the pylon. It looked like it should have maybe been a touchdown, but that's not the case. And you're sitting there, and now you're where you could have distanced yourself in this division. You're right in the thick of things, and it's a really unfortunate, ugly loss where the Cardinals, they're going to have to pick up the pieces for a tough road matchup again next week against Minnesota.
That's tough. I mean, I thought the defense played really well for most of the game. They missed a lot of tackles, most in the second half, but defense, they held their own. They were on the field for a very long time. There's not much you can expect when your defense is out there that long. Offensively, looks like half these boys are still in Cabo on bye week. So, yeah. I mean, that's got to get fixed this week. Some boys are going to have to wake up, look in the mirror, and figure something out, because if you put that product back on the field next week, you're going to look at a 2-game road skid.
Yeah, the Cardinals, to me, listen, this is the NFL. You can get beat any given Sunday, and I think there were a lot of people, certainly in my mentions and maybe others, gentlemen, when you talk about like withholding Darius in this game, it's like we're not good enough to withhold Darius Robinson. I think you'll hear a lot of that this week, right? Could Darius have played? Could he have made a difference? I don't know. If they didn't deem him healthy, then you keep him on the bench until Minnesota next week. But I do feel like, listen, did he impact the game every single play? No. But I do think when you have an offensive line with the cohesion that they had pre-bye, and then you insert Jonah Williams for the first time since week 1, like the Cardinals, fair or not, were leading the division at 6-4. This is not a team that's still rebuilding at 3-7, and you can tinker with the lineup and talk about long-term fits and this, that, the other. I mean, it's like you mess with a pitcher throwing a perfect game almost. You mess with the mojo of this offense, and it wasn't just Jonah Williams, right? Tristan Colon got beat up by Leonard Williams. This was maybe Paris Johnson Jr.'s worst game of the season.
I think without a doubt.
Yeah, certainly of the season, maybe as a pro. Seattle came in with a very specific game plan. They certainly identified things on tape against Drew Petzing's offense that made them susceptible to pressure, and it impacted Kyler Murray. Like, I thought Kyler Murray was okay today. Not great, given what he's been doing all year, which is top 5 quarterback play. You know, missing Trey McBride, the ball's wet at the end of the game. I'm not making excuses, but, like, most of the time, if a quarterback's getting beat up for 3 quarters, Bo, and then you fast forward the fourth quarter, like, he's not the same guy.
No. I mean, you what they've done is all season long, or really since he came back last November, was they kept him clean. They kept him from taking shots, and what you saw all game long was him consistently take hits. I mean, the 4th and 1 play was awful. It was terrible. It was a cluster, you know what, and that's 6 the other way. Turned into just B6 because of the taunting penalty, and that was a key play for the game. But that just can't happen. That's from a play calling standpoint, from an execution or lack thereof standpoint, for that to turn into what was a good drive where they were moving the football and looked like it was just going to translate, at the very least, to a turnover on downs. To turn that into 6 points the other way, that's the game. That's the game.
Yeah, and it hurt. I mean, you had it. Yes, it was 4th. I didn't like the play call either. I think it kind of puts you in a one-dimensional kind of state right there, because it's the 4th and 1 play. You could look at the fact and say, well, why didn't he hand it off? Because it wasn't designed to be handoff. The design of it was to fake the handoff, try to get on the outside, and try to dump it out. And I think he got outside. He saw it. He was under pressure immediately. There was about 5 guys in his face. He overthrew it. Right? There's no excuse for it. He overthrew it. Right? It's a tough play. It's a bad play call. It's a bad situation to call that play, and they got 6 off of it. So, I mean, it was ultimately the turning point in this football game. It's a 7-3 ball game, up to this point, and you have a terrible play call on 4th and 1, and they make the play.
2 terrible ones.
Really 2 back-to-back terrible play calls. And
I mean, the Seattle Seahawks bailed you out on the previous one.
Yeah. And for them to get 6 off of that, that hurts, right? It puts you in a bad situation. That's the only 2 points, the only 2 times outside of that field goal at the very end that they even touched the end zone.
Drew Petzing didn't have a good day today. He got kind of taken to the woodshed by Mike McDonald, and there was a cyclical trickle-down effect to his players. Like, I think you could identify they did not run the football well. Like, James Conner had some hollow stats late in the game, but for the most part, James Conner was ineffective today. The offensive line couldn't get a push. You got beat up at the line of scrimmage. And it's unfortunate because you wasted what I think is another tremendous defensive performance. Sure, you gave up a touchdown, but this defense gave up 13 points today, or 12 points, or whatever it was. I mean, it's a joke.
10 points given up by the defense. And like you said, offensively, I mean, Leonard Williams basically has 5 new sons now, and that's the Cardinals' offensive line.
It's unfortunate. Drop a like on this video.
That's a lot of mouths to feed.
The Sanderson Ford drive of the game here. The drive right before the final one for the Arizona Cardinals, the one where Kyler Murray gets noticeably hit on his ribs, gentlemen, and then misses Trey McBride in the end zone for what was a potential game tying or a come within 3-point touchdown. The Cardinals had to settle for 3 points instead. And Kyler Murray was not great today. Like, the Seahawks clearly did a hell of a job scouting the Cardinals, what they wanted to do. Every time it looked like Kyler Murray was maybe going to take off. Seattle had 3 or 4 players right there. The separation right now with the receiving core outside of Trey McBride could be an issue. I mean, we're talking about Marvin Harrison Jr., 3 catches on 6 targets, another pedestrian 47 yards. Mm-hmm. This is not, a Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones type of, rookie season yet. And I think, today would have been a nice day for that to happen. But I don't know. How much do you want to put on, Bo, the elements? How much do you want to put on the pressure? I mean, Geno Smith made a couple big-time plays today, but for the most part, I thought he was pretty average, too. The Cardinals sacked him 5 times. Yeah. I mean, there were pretty mirror performances today. Kyler Murray made the interception, and the Cardinals' offensive line was bad.
Right. No, I wasn't impressed by Geno in this offense at all. I mean, they had one big splash play, one big explosive play from Jackson Smith and Jigba that put them down in the red zone, and then a credit to them finishing the job in the red zone, something that the Cardinals couldn't do. We saw it for the first time after a perfect 16-for-16 start in goal-to-go situations. They can't get it done. So a tip of the cap to the Seahawks on defense there. But, no, I mean, the difference really is, where the execution and lack of execution. And, Geno and his unit got it done where Kyler and his crew couldn't. And when it's this close, it's a 2-possession game at the end of the day. It's a brutal loss, and it just sucks you right back into the muck where you really had an opportunity going into this one to distance yourself. And like that's – but you're going to look at this entire game. You're going to look at this film, and you're going to see missed opportunities up and down it. And it's really unfortunate. Even with how poorly they played, on the offensive line, they still had chances to get it done.
Yeah, the player that did get it done, it's our X-Factor player of the game, no surprise, Trey McBride, the third-year tight end, 12 catches, 133 yards, 11.1 yards per catch today with a long of 20 yards, 85 having a career season, a Pro Bowl season, Brittan Golden, and was really the only effective offensive player for the Cardinals today. No James Conner. James Conner had 7 carries for 8 yards. Kyler Murray, ineffective, no touchdowns. I mean, Trey McBride, maybe a little bit of Michael Wilson toward the end. That was all you had today.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really all you've had. The most consistent player you've had on this offense all season long, outside of James Conner for the most part, has been Trey McBride.
Sure.
When you need a play, when you need a catch, when you need a first down, when you need something to happen, Trey McBride is the guy. And he's always been the guy for as long as the season's gone. You've got to find somebody on that offense. Albeit, Michael Wilson stepped up in a big way in the end of the second half.
He did,
for sure.
Yeah. He was great.
But there's got to be somebody else that helps contribute to this. Because they decided to leave Trey McBride open one-on-one all the time. I mean, all the dink and dunk underneath stuff, but I mean, I don't know if it's I don't know. I don't want to blame it on play calling because I feel like we've done that all season long, but I mean, it's just you get into these situations, these third and short situations, these fourth and short situations, and it's like, what are we trying to do with all these trick plays?
Yeah.
They've been so good the last couple weeks there. Still no excuse, right? I mean,
execution, it still has to come down to the players on the field executing the play. Right? Regardless if it's a bad play call or if it's a good play call, you still have to execute it. But I just don't think some of these guys are being put in the right situations at certain times.
That interception Kyler Murray threw, it certainly felt like that was a designed run, and then he kind of panicked and threw the football. And then the play before that, you don't think?
I don't think it was a design run. I think it was.
You think that was an intended throw to Michael Wilson?
I intentionally think that it was.
It was a hell of a play by Witherspoon.
To fake it to James Conner, make it look like a zone read, but it's a passing option, right? Because if you can get everybody to fall up, now you've got Michael Wilson's wide open over there. I get it. It looks really, really cool on paper. But so does that BS that I draw up when I play in the backyard with the boys.
Well, you don't anticipate Witherspoon making the play, and then the play that Kobe Bryant made. I don't even want to talk about this play anymore. It makes me sick. It was bad. I mean, the previous play, it was a quick slant to Michael Wilson that they sniffed out, and they blew it up. It should have been turnover on downs there.
Yeah.
But Seattle called just before the snap of the football a timeout. You would have thought that as they effectively, for the first time all day, were running the football, that maybe they would have just turned around and handed the ball to 6.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that.
But James Conner had 7 carries today, and clearly was not explosive doing so, or didn't have any room to run. I mean, the officials, I think, played a big part in this game. Fair or not, the Cardinals were called for, it felt like double the penalties, and I've got the team stats here. So at Seattle today, the Arizona Cardinals, compared to Seattle, actually had less penalties, but it felt like they had many more, and certainly in critical situations.
It felt like every time that the Cardinals had a big play, that there was a yellow piece of laundry on the field.
That's what made it feel so bad.
No, they had
touchdowns. You had touchdown called back from a bad holding penalty from your best offensive lineman.
Yeah.
You've got the block in the back on Trey McBride on a big catch by James Conner. I mean, I'm not going to say it, but it's a first down catch right there that turns into 2nd and 9.
Yeah.
And it just seems like the penalties the Cardinals put out today were just like Damon said. It was in the wrong situation.
Drive killers. Cardinals had more penalty yardage for 5 for 60 compared to Seattle had 5 for 51. It's apples and oranges, but again, you mentioned it, the touchdown nullified. James Conner's running for a first down, that gets brought back, and then fair or not, you see this game with your eyes. There were many, many instances that it felt like Seattle was able to get away with some holds, specific on some Kenneth Walker runs. So Cardinals just didn't play well enough to win. I don't think that they had this game stolen from them. At no point did I feel like, especially on those last couple drives for Arizona, it's like, come on, guys, we just want to get you over the hump offensively, and they just didn't have it today. I'm not ready to sit here and write off the season. I know there are people jumping to conclusions like this is Jonathan Gannon is toast. Look at his game management. Come on, guys. This team was bound to lose a game eventually. I think it's just disappointing, number one, where unlike, maybe a loss to Buffalo, this is a game where you really could have put the NFC West on ice. You could have had it in your back pocket. Yeah. And instead, you gave Seattle new life. But the good news is, Bo, you get them back in your building in 2 weeks. Yeah, you got to take care of business next week, presumably against Minnesota, but take care of business against Seattle in your building, and suddenly you're back in control.
Well, yeah, I think that's a big point here is Seattle can't feel too great about this. They didn't play good offensively. This is a Cardinals team that is defense has given up 1 touchdown in its last 12 quarters, and it played a role in today's loss. But the defense was not the reason for the loss. The offense has an opportunity to get back on track in better conditions. I know they're going up against a Brian Flores coach defense here on the road a week from today against the Vikings, and then you're back at home against this very same Seattle defense. But now you're not going to have to deal with the elements. You're not going to have to deal with all the noise. And hopefully, you're going to be able to refine some of that traction. It's imperative to refine it because, if God forbid you slip back to even at 6-6 after next week, you got to come to play against the Seahawks team 2 weeks from today.
Absolutely. Everybody be sure to drop a like. We're going to hear from Craig Morgan live from Seattle with initial reactions, thoughts, including some video of Jonathan Gannon and hopefully Kyler Murray pertaining to a potential injury.
I think he is set to talk today. So we will hear from the Cardinals franchise quarterback. It was a good sign we saw him come back out after what looked like an injury right around his what they're calling his rib area, but we don't know for sure what he dealt with, but hopefully get some insight on that.
Yep, all that more coming up on PHNX Cardinals. But first, after this one, I'm going to need a break with my friends at Circle K, joining the inner circle, because I'm going to need a snack. I'm going to need a drink. I'm going to need something to take my mind off this Cardinal loss for the first time since, I don't know, early October. This team has not lost, but you're never losing with our friends at Circle K. Join the inner circle for free right now. It's America's Thirst Stop, friends. All you got to do is super easy to download. Enter your email, phone number to be fully enrolled. After that, all you need is your phone number to get your deals. And how about this for a deal? Save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, 3 cents per gallon every single day. And again, they got a ton of other offers. Check it all out and more. Enjoy an exclusive deal with the Inner Circle 79-cent Polar Pop or Froster. But you got to have Circle K, the Inner Circle, right now. Join it for free by downloading the Circle K app. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com, Bo, for more details.
Branded Bills. Love Branded Bills. You're looking to elevate your brand. Maybe it might be your slow-pitch softball team, your kids' Little League soccer squad, whatever it may be. Maybe you want to just elevate your company's brand. Well, you can get some nice branded bills, your truckers, your fitteds, your beanies, your T-shirts, the apparel you're looking for. It's covered by Branded Bills with performance and style. If you're looking for some gear to make your gear in your brand stand apart from the crowd, Branded Bills has you covered with the best custom headwear. Start your order with their dedicated team to help you create the exact custom apparel that you need. If you're looking to rep maybe the Sun Devils, well, they got their campus collection. You can get that ASU swag that you wish for, the U of A swag, GCU. All the local schools are part of the campus collection, or if you're an alma maters from outside, maybe AZ, you can find your school to rep from Branded Bills. It's a local company here in Mesa, but they're worldwide, baby. Check it out. Head to brandedbills.com. Use the code PHNX for 20% off your first order. That's 20% off your first order using the code PHNX. It's crazy to me to see the chat with the Seahawks fans. Welcome, by the way. Drop a like just like anybody else. We love the discourse. You can spike the football, you can enjoy it, but to come in here and start chirping about Kyler Murray after the way that Geno Smith tried to throw that football game away is kind of crazy to me.
I mean, Geno Smith, the definition of average. I think the Seahawks are average. I think the Seahawks know they're average. Geno Smith on pace now, came in with 11 picks, 11 touchdowns, 12 picks, 12 touchdowns. That's
one
who they are,
baby. Just keep that.
It's Seahawks though. It's their fans. It's how they always are. Right? It's same thing when you go. I mean, put it this way: I'm 4-0 in Seattle when I was playing for the Cardinals, and it was the same nonsense every time. Right? You come out the game, they screaming, they yelling, they talking what they want to talk, and then you got Michael Floyd streaking down the side for a touchdown at the end of the game, and that whole place gets entirely quiet. You can hear a pin drop. So listen, you're not hurting my feelings by saying nothing in that chat because, like I said, in Seattle, 4-0.
I love that scoreboard.
It's
way
rough.
better than today's.
Yes. Speaking of today's scoreboard, let's count some cards with the Arizona Cardinals scoreboard, gentlemen. Individual players, not so great. Usually we're touting a bunch of winning stats here. At least we have been for the last month. Marvin Harrison Jr., gentlemen, let's stick there for a minute. 47 yards receiving, 3 catches on 6 targets. Still waiting for the second half breakout for MHJ. And again, receiving's down across the league, especially with rookie receivers like Malik Neighbors and company. But Marvin does have Kyler Murray. And, we see the volume that Trey McBride gets. And with Marvin Harrison Jr., unfortunately, Brittan Golden, sometimes it just looks more difficult than it needs to be. So who are you putting this on right now? Because this seemed like a perfect game. Okay, no run game. Let's go to number 18. And at no point outside of a couple third down conversions, especially in the second half, did it feel like Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray were lockstep again? Is this becoming a problem in your mind?
I just don't feel like it's a point, right? I don't feel like they make it a point to make Marvin Harrison the center point of this offense yet. I don't know if that's like a thing between Petzing and Marvin Harrison, whether he doesn't trust him or whether I don't think that there's just not a cohesiveness between everybody. I don't want to say it's a bad fit, right? Because it's obvious his rookie year and it's early, but the way it looks right now is it's does he actually fit into this offense, right? And it's even some of the catches, right? They throw on the ball. Some of the catches are kind of double catch, bobbled. It's I don't know if he feels comfortable in this offense. And it's just one of those things that it's going to take time. I mean, do you want it to? No, but, it's rookie year. It's his rookie year. So, I mean, there's superstars in this league that didn't have amazing rookie years and stuff like that. I mean, you can flip it on the other side. Jackson Smith in Jigba is a hell of a football player.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And his rookie year, he made plays, this and that, but he wasn't nobody turned heads. And what he's doing this year,
look at where they're getting them the ball, though.
That's the difference. They find ways to get him the ball. We don't find ways to get Marvin the ball.
He's running a different route tree. He's obviously in the slot most of the time, but Marvin Harrison Jr., 3 catches for 47 yards. He's just under 16 yards per catch. That's great. But there's different ways that you can put the ball in his hands. He's a playmaker. He's more than somebody that can maybe just kind of take the top off the defense. I think the plays that he was making when he was thrown to are indicative of that. Obviously his stat line looks a lot different if on 3rd and 12 he pulls that down and finds the end zone, or even it just makes that play to set you up at the 1-inch line. But I agree with BG. I agree. And that kind of echoes his point a lot of what Mina Kimes has been telling us all season long consistently, what Brian Baldinger have been consistently telling us. It's just they don't seem to emphasize him in this passing attack or in this offense for that matter. And I think that he would reward you by doing that more often.
Yeah, there's no rhythm, there's no timing right now to speak of. It to your point, BG, it feels forced. We got to get Marv a target, right? And where are the big explosive broken plays, even the yak ability for Marv, that we saw early against the Rams? Maybe that's coming, maybe not. I don't know. But for the young great receivers that we've chronicled in this NFL landscape, they could take a slant and house it, right? We just haven't seen that from Marv yet. Doesn't mean it's not coming, but, it's still something that they're actively having to work on, but that's the difficult thing. And we mentioned earlier with our Jonah Williams conversation, you're working on the fly, trying to win an NFC West championship, and that's difficult. Let's get back to counting cards here. Number 2, of course, Kyler Murray, the franchise quarterback, 77 quarterback rating, again, with the back-breaking pick 6.
Yeah.
Not great. Not his best game, certainly. And give credit to Seattle. I thought Seattle played Kyler Murray as about as well as you could play him this year. That's going to happen. The elements were a factor today. You're playing on the road. It's loud. Even that first possession, Bo, it just didn't feel like the Cardinals were cohesive offensively, multiple sacks allowed. When you see that for a Cardinal offensive line that's been so good this year, you're taken back okay. Is that the kind of day it's going to be? And that's what ended up happening.
It was just one of those grimy games. And when you can't establish the run like they couldn't, it does put a lot of pressure on this passing attack to have to try to make these plays, out of thin air. And there were some throws that he made throughout the game. I think that's why you see this 77 rating. It's not brutal, but at the same time, you see, the 65, nearly 65% completion percentage, and you see, the pick, the crucial pick, where in a game that's ugly and throw down, drag out fight, that you can't be the team that makes the back-breaking mistake. And it was made today, but unfortunately, by your franchise quarterback. You just hope that now that he gets in, good conditions the next 2 weeks, he can start to find it again.
And then lastly, Budda Baker with a sack on the day, and a vintage Budda today. I thought he was solid. He was good. He was captain of this defense that gave up only 10 points, and by all accounts, BG, hopefully they get stronger next week. You get Darius Robinson. We expect him to make his debut. Maybe Jalen Thompson practices a little bit. Not great, gentlemen, seeing Joey Blunt on that pivotal third down conversion late in the game. But number 3, Budda Baker did everything to keep the Cardinals within it. It never felt like the Cardinals were turning the corner offensively, but this defense hasn't missed a beat.
I mean, there's not much, you can say about Budda Baker that hasn't already been said and is been apparent, all season long. He shows up every single game. He's always in the mix, getting in the tackle. He's creating things. I mean, we were talking about it earlier. When was the last time Buddha's had sacks in back-to-back games?
Yeah.
I mean, that's playing safety, man. He's an unbelievable football player. He flies around the field. He knows. I mean, he's smart. He's got a great football IQ, and he's around it. So there's not. I mean, you can't really say too much that's not already apparent about Budda. I think the defense. We've said it all day. The defense played well. But being on the field for 70% of the football game, things are going to happen.
Yeah.
You're going to give up big plays. There's going to be tackles that are missed. It's tough. It's hard. You can't as a defensive back trying to cut. There's times Geno was standing in that pocket for 6 to 8 seconds before he had to let go of that ball. That is very, very hard to cover somebody in the backfield, to cover receivers for 8 seconds. I mean, there's penalties are going to come out. Broken coverages are going to happen. So I think as a whole, the defense has played great. Well, Darius Robinson can make an impact, we hope, when he comes back, helping in that pass rush a little bit, especially up the middle. But, I mean, for the most part, you can't really say too much, anything bad about this defense and what Nick Rallis and JG have put out there. They've been consistent all season long. It's just offensively, something has to happen, on that, especially on that offensive line, because they've been so good for so long. And then for it to just completely fall apart right now, it's devastating as a defense.
This is the 4th time in 5 weeks the Arizona Cardinals have given up less than 17 points in a game. So dating back to the Chargers win on Monday Night Football, final scores of 15 allowed, 9, 6, and 16, and are not undefeated yet in those outings after today's loss. The offense, by the way, this snaps a streak of 3 straight games in which the team had scored 28 or more points. Of course, that's tough to do when you can't get in the end zone. So tough day all around for the Arizona Cardinals. We'll get you through it here on a PHNX Cardinals postgame show. Be sure to drop a like on this video. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. We got Craig Morgan coming up right around the corner via our guy, Coach Stark Holmes. But in the meantime, Damon, Dawg, let's jump into some Super Chats. Let's get the pulse of the fan base here. Experiencing a loss for the first time in a month.
Yeah, let's start off with Trevor Begay, $4.99. Always choke when we can take a commanding lead in the NFC West. With 49ers losing, had the chance to go up 2 games above everyone. This sucks.
Does. Do you consider it a choke, gentlemen?
I honestly, offensively, yes. I think, like we've said it a million times already, the defense came out here and did what they had to do, right? They gave up 10 points, essentially. You take the pick 6 away, the defense gave up 10 points.
Yeah.
And it was really a screenplay. Well, there's a missed tackle in there on a screenplay with Smith and Jigba. And if you make that tackle right there, who knows? You might not even get 7 points out of that. So, yeah.
Keep it going.
I think so. Absolutely. You get shut out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you even got to the choking point. I mean, I understand that. Didn't show up.
Just didn't.
Z Warlock 505, $5. O-line took a nap. Kyler Murray forgot how to play. And Petzing called a bad game, and the defense missed too many tackles. I'm going to need a blue chew.
Oh, man. That blue chew will do you right. We'll talk about blue chew later on. But, I mean,
Lord.
it's hard for me to critique this defense, guys. I know that, ideally, Xavier Thomas is trying to sack Geno Smith, and he's got to make that play. But it's also why is Xavier Thomas being asked as a 5th-round rookie to make that play, trying to help you win an NFC West title? As we mentioned earlier, why is Joey Blunt in the game? It's because your roster defensively is not great yet, but your roster defensively is overachieving, right? Everybody acknowledges it nationally. Cardinals defense better than the sum of their parts. Cardinals offense, I mean, people who don't watch the team consistently, what's wrong with Marv? Why can't they throw the football downfield? Why didn't they score any touchdowns today? If they end up not winning the NFC West it's going to be because the offense underperformed in the second half. Like, you can't convince me otherwise. This defense, like, I don't expect them to just fold over. I think they're going to play hard in Minnesota. I think they're going to play hard for the rest of the year. They've got some really good matchups left on the schedule for them to eat. And hopefully we see, and I think we will, Darius Robinson next week. Like,
Yeah.
It's up to the offense right now, Brack, to be able to turn around and say, this is not who we are. This is a one-off. This is a game that doesn't reflect the kind of caliber of offensive play that we can produce. And we got to come out against a good Minnesota team that, by the way, almost lost to Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears today and gave up damn near 30 points.
Right.
Like, you have to be able to find that quickly.
Absolutely. And Darius Robinson, as exciting as that sounds, it's like, how much better can he make this defense?
Right.
I mean, this defense was 12th in the NFL in points against, and that number is going to go down.
Yeah.
Like, are they going to be hovering around top 10? This defense was not they played winning football today, in my opinion. I know that you're frustrated by missing any kind of tackles at any point. That'll make people pull their hair out. But at the end of the day, they got to Geno enough. They forced the horrendous turnover in the end zone. Garrett Williams secures his second pick of the season. 5 sacks against Geno Smith, and then holding them out of just keeping them to 1 touchdown. That's enough to win a football game. It should be with what you're paying your quarterback, what you've invested on the offense as far as premium draft capital. It should all be there. If you got to prove that this was kind of an outlier performance by this offense up in Seattle in tough conditions, you don't want to give them a pass, but they have to get back on track in order for the Arizona Cardinals to get back on track going forward.
Next super chat comes from KR Gordon 08 199, says big time for odds Petzing changed scheme.
I mean they
Brayton changed scheme.
Brittan Golden, did they make a mistake at right tackle?
I understand the thought of, hey, this is the guy that we, 1, paid in free agency to come out here. 2, he was this, week 1, game 1 starter. I would have loved, we'd be sitting here saying something different if it was, this flipped and we won the game and it looked good offensively. But I think with what Kelvin Beachum did in the time that Jonah Williams was not playing, I think there was a little bit more of a cohesiveness the last 4 weeks, right? I think just inserting him in as soon as he was healthy. I don't get, they don't pay me to GM and make football rosters, but it's just one of them situations, right? If it would have worked out and everything was right, everybody be praising it. But it didn't work out. Nothing looked good. The entire offensive line looked bad. So, that's the only thing. So, trying to say that inserting Jonah Williams is the problem about this offensive line was bad I think that's a bad take, because all 5 of them, like I said earlier, looked like they were still on vacation from the bye week. So, Paris has been a force since he's been in this league, and this, he got beat today.
Yeah,
he did. He got beat today pretty soundly, and we're just gonna chalk it up as this was a bad game for the boys. Hopefully, we can revamp, come back next week, and put a better product on the field.
Let me put it back towards Johnny though, where you were pro Beach. You wanted Grandpa in there. You wanted him to stay in there. You liked it. Hold on. And my question is, do you benefit though from getting? I know it potentially cost you the game today, but do you benefit from Jonah Williams getting back in there and getting back into playing?
0%. And I know Jonah Williams we got tweets on our Twitter right now, PHNX Cardinals. Jonah Williams says it's not the outcome they wanted, but it's great to get back in there. That's what else is he gonna say? I'm gonna say right now the difficult part out loud. Like, this is on, in my opinion, on Jonathan Gannon today. Like, they screwed up this, because I know internally, and we have this source, like this was something that they had been weighing whether or not it was the right decision, and clearly it was the wrong one today. Jonah Williams did not look good. Now, could Kelvin Beachum have had a bad day? Sure. I don't think that's fair to Kelvin Beachum, who's been one of the best right tackles over the last month of the season. I was told Jonah Williams was supposed to be blowing up holes in the run game. Cardinals, this is like their worst run game of the running game of the year. They couldn't move the ball at all. And then he was pretty average to below average as a pass protector. Like, I'm not giving them an out just because the rest of the offensive line wasn't great. I said this on the halftime show. Is it a possibility Tristan Colon wasn't great because he didn't have Grandpa, number 68, helping him out, playing right tackle? I think that's a big part of it. So it doesn't make me think anything less of Jonathan Gannon or Drew Petzing or Monty Ossenford. But, like, people make mistakes. And I think, in hindsight, you can't go backwards now unless Jonah Williams just becomes unplayable, and I don't expect that. But, all actuality, if they could have a mulligan, I think they'd do it again. I think they'd redo the decision. I think they would go back to Kelvin Beachum. You ride it out until it doesn't work. You don't owe Jonah Williams anything. Monty Ossenford, even though he gave him that contract, hey, my man, we're 6-4 without you. Take a seat. We'll reevaluate in the offseason. Kelvin Beachum's probably going to not be on the team anyway, but we're going to see this through. The fact that they messed with it, fair or not, you're going to get criticism from me and other people for this. You tell me it's a coincidence they played their worst game in maybe 2 years under Jonathan Gannon as an offensive line, and it's the first that you mess with that cohesion, bad things happen. So, yeah, I think they messed up, and I think it's on them.
Eric Madrid, $10. Thank you for your patience, my guy. No Robinson, Kyler Murray pick 6, week after the bye. Should have stuck with the O-line, gave up on the run early.
It's hard to say you gave up on the run early because you just got annihilated. So I know, listen, when I was here, it was very apparent. It looked like if our run game didn't work early, we were bombs over Baghdad for the rest of the game. I mean, and it's just how that was the philosophy. If our run game was getting stuffed and we couldn't move the ball running, we were going to throw it 35, 40 times a game. So I think it's not that saying that that's a good, that's not a great formula for everybody. But I mean, to say you gave up on it when you were just the offensive line was in the backfield every time we tried to run the ball.
Yeah.
So I mean, anybody's giving up on that run game. If you can't get a push going forward, I'm not going to waste plays trying to run a football when I can't get a yard.
Well, they turned Trey McBride into their offense there in the second half, as we were calling for at halftime, and it worked. He was your running back, he was your wide receivers downfield, he was just making every play, and he was getting chunk yardage while doing so. They moved the ball. They didn't really have that big of an issue moving the football. They just had a tough time cashing in. I mean, think about the play that we haven't even talked about, which was unbelievable from Michael Wilson.
Yeah.
Oh.
Third down.
And 4, yeah.
And he catches 30-yard pass over his head in the rain to put them at first and goal on the 5. It was an unbelievable play that now is going to be completely overlooked because they couldn't cash in. But Brittan, I was talking to you, that you said that is as far as the degree of difficulty on that.
Bro, that's one of those catches at the end of the year. Only somebody that plays football or coaches football that sees that happen is going to be able to, confirm it. But that's one of, especially receiver-wise, that's one of the hardest catches in the game of football, right? Yeah. You're running away from the ball. You're looking straight up over your head. It's raining. There's a guy draped all over your back, right? There's only one line of sight for that football, and that's when it gets over the top of your head. And when it got to that point, I mean, it's already in the breadbasket for Michael Wilson.
Yeah.
So for him to be able to concentrate long enough to squeeze that, go to the ground with 2 guys over there, getting hit, fall on the ground, and to hold on, I mean, that's one of the best catches that won't be acknowledged all season long. That's a top 5 catch for the NFL season.
Hoping to have a chance to chat with Mike Willie later on in the week on PHNX Cardinals. Your Super Chats, Craig Morgan, and more coming up here on a postgame show. Big, huge, tremendous thank you to everybody that came out to Wild Horse Pass. Cards may not have won, but we were big winners with all of you. Capacity, crowd, had to get extra seating here at Wild Horse Pass, Gila River Resorts and Casinos. The vibes were immaculate. So was the food. We had a custom menu today. It was fantastic. The wings, our guy Damon Dawg, a burrito, nachos. I mean, it was 5-star. And who would have thought anything different? You do you at PlayGila.com, Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Again, we're side of our watch party. We're going to be back here next weekend. So if you didn't have a chance to come out, let's run it back against the Minnesota Vikings. Except let's get a different result at the end of the game. We got Suns watch parties. You can head on upstairs. Prime Shula Steakhouse, right? And of course, the largest sportsbook casino in the greater Arizona area. This is on par with anything you're going to find in Vegas or otherwise. 4,500 slots, live table games, and more. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com, Bo, for more details.
They call it your Thanksgiving, I guess, leftovers cleanser by that point. I mean, if you're eating them by Sunday, you need something different, like some of these delicious wings that we had at Mango Habanero. awesome.
Yeah.
Also, what's coming with next week is after Thanksgiving, you know what the next day is Black Friday. Why not cash in with our friends over at Sanderson Ford? Get yourself a new car. Get yourself a new truck. How about that Ford F-150? And you could save big on it. It's the Black Friday thank you sale the entire month of November with great offers, including that F-150, as I mentioned, 3.9 APR financing for 66 months plus $4,000 cashback. Similar savings on 900 new and pre-owned vehicles on the lot. 65 glorious acres out there on the west side in Glendale at Sanderson Ford, the most awarded Ford dealership in customer satisfaction. You know how they do that, Johnny? Brittan, it's because they've got the no hassle, no pressure, no nonsense sales approach. They figure out, like, do you love this car? Let's make a deal. It's not your vibe, we'll find something else for you. They're not going to mess around and waste your time. Check them out right now. Don't miss out. The Sanderson Ford Black Friday thank you sale. All offers expire December 2nd, so get in soon.
Get in this chat. Drop a like. Our goal, of course, on a post-game show, 1,000 likes here, and we're fired up to chat with you. Damon, Dawg, let's jump back into those super chats, my guy.
AZ Fan 1998, 199 says Kelvin Beachum is greater than Jonah Williams.
I think based on
That's
this
crazy.
season's resume,
That's
100%.
crazy. Remember what people were saying after Buffalo? Remember that?
Yeah.
Like how they were crying. There were tears streaming down people's face. How could we can't play right tackle with Kelvin Beachum?
Let me ask you this. Knowing what we know now, do you think it was
I wasn't saying you were crying.
I was not. I was crying today after I saw the lineup change. Was it a mistake to swap out Kelvin Beachum after what we saw today?
I mean, that's what I was saying earlier, though. Like, if Jonah Williams comes in and plays a really good game, you know,
But he didn't, though.
I understand that.
So it was a mistake.
Yeah,
Bo,
it's
was
a mistake if that's how you want to go and say, because he didn't.
I mean,
play
you guys
well
are talking about like choke job by the offense. Like
It wasn't all,
but it wasn't just.
I don't want to
Jonah
make it sound like it was Jonah Williams. The entire offensive line played
But,
like
like,
crap.
This was all five.
I don't know
of
if
those
it's
guys
fair to
played
to
terrible
say to
today.
Kelvin, like, oh, because everybody else played like crap, you were going to play like crap too. Like, that's not fair.
No, it's not.
No.
But
The last time we
I'm
saw
not gonna
Kelvin
say-
Beachum, he was a top right tackle in the month of October, November.
listen, we don't get paid to make.
Was it
that
a
call.
mistake? Tell me right now. What do you think?
First up, you got to watch the film.
Oh my
You got to
God.
figure out.
Claymore Jones saying JV was not pro beach. Is this your first show, Claymore? I hope not. I was on this show earlier this week with our guy Brian Baldinger saying it would be a mistake to swap out Kelvin Beachum.
I
for
think
Jonah
it
Williams.
was a complete offensive.
No,
I'm
no.
Oh, my God.
going to say no.
That's fine. You guys are making a mistake by not admitting it was a mistake, by the way. That's what you're doing right now. Damon,
I
Dawg,
feel
let's
like it
keep
was
it
a mistake agreeing to do this show so many years ago at this point with you.
let's keep it going, Damon.
Let's do it. Brian L., $5 says defense showed up, offense didn't. Miracle, it was only a 2-score game. That was a touchdown, referring to Marv's touchdown, I assume.
Very strange. Very
It's
strange.
a tough one.
There wasn't much, it was upheld, the call on the field. Not much explanation. The pylon, you get into that conversation, but I guess the fact that Marv just didn't get a second foot down inbounds, and then that people just say that's a non-starter, it's not a catch, and you move forward.
Kyler Murray being interviewed right now. You can check out those clips at PHNX_Cardinals on Twitter. And we'll have those hopefully here in a little bit to show you on the show. But
You will.
Kyler Murray, we haven't got like confirmation from anybody yet in the media side of things for those on the floor in Seattle, like pertaining to like, is Kyler Murray
He's
injured?
No,
Like,
he's fine.
What's going on with K1? So I'm going to assume that means he's okay.
He's fine. Well, if there was actually something wrong, I don't know if we would have seen him at the podium.
Which, like, okay, I don't want to make excuses, and today sucked. But, like, Kyler Murray gets hurt, like, the season's over. So, like, I want to put that in, like, context. Cardinals are going to live to fight another day.
Like, if they'd come out there, and I know the game was basically in hand, Seahawks iced it with the field goal that they made from 50 yards. But if Clayton Tune comes out there,
It's a much different show.
we're talking about that
You're toast.
all the way up until now.
Toast.
I mean, we're throwing up. We get a bark bag out. That's respect to Clayton Tune. He's a backup. I mean, Kyler Murray's a franchise quarterback. Like,
If you would ask me, is this on Jonah Williams at this point? If that question, I say, hey, how dare you ask me when we're
that's-
staring down, the Cardinals potent without Kyler Murray any part of the way going forward.
the season is still alive. The Cardinals are tied for first in the NFC West. They control their destiny. They got Carolina and New England on their schedule still. Like, they got a chance to get this going again. that is dead if Kyler Murray is out for an extended period of time. So I'm going to chalk that. I'd already kind of conditioned myself like this is going to be tough to come back from the rain. It's a 10-point game, and you got Kyler Murray in the blue tent. It's like this is not good right now. And you saw him kind of grimacing on the sideline. Now, hopefully it means he's not compromised going into Minnesota next week. And I'm going to tell you right now, the offensive line's got to be a hell of a lot better, gentlemen, against Jonathan Grenard and company against Brian Flores' defense. Yeah. But you got no shot. If for all the people, and there were plenty of them on Twitter today saying Kyler Murray fooled me. This is who he always been. Come on, great quarterbacks. C.J. Stroud wasn't good today. Look at all these quarterbacks around the NFL that didn't have a great day, or maybe aren't having great seasons. Like, we do this thing, we're so Jekyll and Hyde sometimes as a fan base. It's like, unless Kyler Murray is the MVP of the league, he is not allowed to have a bad game. And if he does, I want new everything. Guys, look around the NFL. Look what the Raiders are dealing with. Did you watch the Giants earlier today with Tommy Cutlets DeVito? That's your reality. So are you allowed to say Kyler Murray wasn't great today? 100%. If he's hurt, we're done. We might as well pack this thing up if I got to watch Clayton Tune for 4 quarters the rest of the year. Let's have a little context, a little reality check, Bo. Thanks.
It's the reason why they're behind the computer putting their comments on a Twitter page. Let's just be real.
So many people are just waiting to tear down Kyler Murray.
Well, for me, it's what makes me laugh, right? When the people get on there and say, like, somebody's in the chat talking about me, who's this bum? Call me a bum all you want to. You pay money to watch me play. My paycheck cashed every week, whether you like me or not. It's fine. Like,
I love
you're calling him a bum, but you are on the couch or at the bar. Like,
they're 6-4 with him with a rebuilding roster.
6-5. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. You're still in the top 5 in the playoff contention right now. Yeah, like if guys really, you can't play or do anything on a top level if a comment on Twitter or something hurts your feelings. Yeah. Like, it's just one of the things. Like, you can say everything you want to say about Kyler Murray on the internet. I promise you, he don't care. You want to tell me the main factor why he don't care? He's got $200+ million in the bank. Ain't nothing you can say when you working, getting paid $23 an hour at work 5 days a week.
And he's focused on wins right now.
You're not hurting him.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that the interception was inexcusable.
It was a bad interception.
I'll come on the post-game show and agree with you.
Bad interception.
Yeah. It's bad play.
But if we're going to sit here and talk about bad interceptions, there's 32 quarterbacks that throw bad interceptions.
Geno threw one.
Geno threw a bad interception.
Patrick Mahomes got 30
interceptions this year.
Yeah. We got to be able to contextualize as a fan base, like bad play versus give me a new quarterback.
How tough it is.
It's hilarious.
Some of the things that he excels in.
Actually hilarious.
All right, let's get more insight as far as the franchise quarterback. Let's go out to Lumen Field. Thanks to our guy, Chris Stark, of course, of Stark Realty. Our guy, Craig Morgan, out on the road. Craig, what's going on? What's the latest from the Cards post game? What are the big takeaways?
I just want to hear Brittan just riff for a little bit longer about this. I was enjoying that. That was good entertainment right there, guys. Listen, I heard what you guys were saying, and yeah, it was a bad pick, but Kyler was running for his life today. The O-line gave him no protection, and a lot of it was coming from the interior. I'm not sure if we're going to agree on this one, Johnny. I know there was some talk about Jonah, the question of Jonah being placed in the lineup. I asked Jonathan Gannon about that, yet he just dismissed that outright. Look, there were breakdowns all over this offensive line. Paris Johnson didn't have a good game today. The interior didn't have a good game today. They all admitted it. And part of that was they couldn't get the run game going at all. They could not establish James Conner. And from there, everything just seemed to snowball. They just couldn't get anything going offensively today.
Speaking of Kyler Murray, Craig, I know you had an opportunity to chat with him at his locker. He was seen leaving the game after a field goal possession. Went to the blue tent, looked grimacing on the broadcast with potential, rib injuries. What can you tell us about the franchise quarterback?
That's exactly what it was. I saw you tweet it earlier, but he got someone fell on his side, right? So that's what it was. I know there was some concern that it might have been in the concussion protocol, but he dismissed all that. I'm sure he's sore right now, but he came back in the game. I think Kyler Murray is going to be fine, at least physically. They obviously weren't happy with the result today because they had such an opportunity today, guys. They had such an opportunity to seize control of this division. The defense, I thought, did a wonderful job. It was interesting to hear Jonathan Gannon start by talking about some mistakes on the defense when to all of us, it was pretty clear that if the O-line had a better performance today, they might have come out of Seattle.
We saw another big performance from Trey McBride. Craig, 11 catches for 133 yards, his personal best. Seems to reset it almost every other game. But then we see, Marvin Harrison Jr. It felt like another game where they struggled to get him the football. Any insight as far as from, the players out there where maybe that connection kind of took a step backwards?
Yeah, Michael Wilson talked about it a little bit. He laid some of the blame on the receivers. Now, I'm not sure how fair that is. You know how this is in postgame, right? Everybody's going to take it on themselves, take one for the team. But he said, maybe some of the timing wasn't right for the routes. They weren't getting open for Kyler. To me, I mean, you guys have probably beat this horse to death already, but it started with the protection. I hate to keep going back to that, but that was everything. Look, he didn't have any time to operate today. And news bulletin, any quarterback that's under that kind of pressure in this league, they're going to struggle to have a good game. That's just, it's as simple as that. If the O-line plays better today, the Cardinals have a chance to win. So I don't want to throw this on the receivers. I don't want to say, yeah, Marvin Harrison and Michael Wilson didn't do their job. Maybe there were some things that they could have done better, but this all started up front. Seattle just won in the trenches today.
It's got to be pretty disheartening for Gannon and company. They make their living off of winning ugly and winning in the trenches. That's what we've come to know, especially with recent dubs over Chicago and the Jets, Craig. Let's look ahead to next week. The Cardinals travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings, and we've got it, pretty well confirmed that Darius Robinson, they plan to debut him today. Do you think it was a mistake not, trying to get him some reps today? By all accounts, had a really strong practice this week. I know there's a lot of Cardinal fans ready to bail, saying shut him down. I think the opposite. Like he could have played today. They had a bunch of caution and were reserved and said we can win without him. Do you think that was a mistake?
No, not at all. Look at what the defense did today. Listen, there were some breakdowns on the defense, but that wasn't the reason they lost this game. And I don't mind being cautious with Darius Robinson. You want to make sure that he's right, not only physically, but ready to play, ready to contribute. And if they have to wait another week, that's fine. I don't think the defense was the issue today. I think it's always wise to play smart with your guys when they're coming back from injuries. Make sure they are fully prepared. Give him another week, maybe even 2 weeks. But, I know you're hearing he's going to come back next week, but that's not the issue here. It just simply isn't the issue.
It's one of those things where it's like, dude, you could try to force the hand and try to put the guy in early when he might not feel 100. That could be the situation. He could be talking to him and say, look, yes, I want to play. Yes, I want to get out there. But do I go out there and risk re-aggravating something when it's not completely ready to go? This is a different type, right? You're not playing college football no more. This isn't a scholarship thing, right? You can't really afford to go out there and stay in the training room. It's the same thing. Can't make the club in the tub. They've been saying it for years. But, I mean, there's just no real push to put him out there and try to force something and put him in a situation where he's going to get hurt or something out. So I think you take your time. When he's ready to go, when the coaches feel like he's ready to go, then you'll see Darius Robinson.
Well, that's it right there, right? It's all about the evaluation. And Brittan, you know more about that than any of us. It's all about what they're seeing from him in his workouts, what the trainers are seeing. We're not privy to that information. They're not going to give us that information. But, yeah, you have to trust that the staff knows what's best for this player and best for the team right now, and they're not going to rush that timeline for anybody.
Agreed.
We're not going to rush our time with Craig Morgan. Stick around, Craig, but in the meantime, I want to tell you about our friends at Coach Stark Homes. Are in the market for a home? If so, get a hold of Coach Stark today. He'll help you out. Get in touch with him, 623-695-3929, or go to CoachStarkHomes.com. Follow him on all socials at Coach Stark Homes. We've got more from Craig Morgan, as well as by the numbers right around the corner here on PHNX Cardinals. We talked about it earlier, by the numbers. Desert Financial is the official credit union of the Arizona Cardinals, PHNX Sports, and the Venerable household. They'll help upgrade your financial acumen today. That's because for more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union. This is not a one-off transaction, friends. This is a upgrade in your financial acumen to help you achieve your financial goals and dreams, whatever they may be. They got checking accounts. They've got savings accounts. If you're in the market for a home, mortgages, right? You want a small business loan, a personal loan, credit card, investment options, and more. They got a team of experts ready to help you and I achieve your financial goals and dreams. No better place to do it than Desert Financial. with the Red Sea Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card. Rep it now at desertfinancial.com, gentlemen, to get started. Desertfinancial.com/Cardinals to be a part of the Red Sea with the Desert Financial Bird Gang Giveaway Sweepstakes, Getaway Sweepstakes. You could win a prize pack that includes 4 tickets to what could be a banger of a Cards game in late December, plus round-trip airfare, hotel accommodations, theme park passes for 2 days, plus a $2,000 Visa gift card. Play like a pro. Get in the game. Enter today, desertfinancial.com/getaway, Bo.
Would you define this performance as limp,
Yes.
Yes, offensively for sure.
droopy, uninspired, tired, listless? You don't want to perform like the Arizona Cardinals on offense today. No, you want to be far from it. You want to make a great impression, especially in the bedroom. Turn to our friends over at Blue Chew. They're going to be the opposite of all those things I just mentioned. No, they're going to get you ready to play. You're going to be operating at a high level with our friends over at Blue Chew. It's unreal what's going on. You don't believe me? Try for yourself and try it risk-free. You can go online. You can get it prescribed by one of their great doctors, all discreetly online. And the process is simple. You go to BlueChew.com, consult one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, they're going to receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door. Best part, it's all done online. It means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations like this right here, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. You can take them anytime, day or night, and if they didn't like them, if you don't like them, it's no skin off your back. How about just $5 in shipping? That's all it's going to cost you. Try Blue Chew for free. When you use our promo code ALLCITY, ALLCITY, at checkout, and you'll just pay the $5 in shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code ALLCITY. Receive your first free month. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring PHNX Cardinals.
Let's get Craig Morgan back, Damon Dawg, if we could, if he's still hanging out. Absolutely. There's Craig via Coach Stark Holmes. Craig, I want to ask you about the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, Jonathan Gannon. Now 1-1 post-bye. He suffers his 3rd straight loss to Seattle and his first NFC West loss of 2024. How was the mood of the head coach for AZ? I know you said kind of condemning the defense to start out, but, I mean, he's got to know this was a missed opportunity to put this NFC West on ice here before a difficult road game at Minnesota.
Yeah, he was frustrated. It was clear that he was frustrated in the post-game news conference, but he was on message with what you expect to hear from a coach after a game like this, talking about all the things that they can learn. And again, he did mention a lot of things that they can do defensively better, but it's pretty clear that they need to shore up some things on offense as well. I want to come back to something else here. Like when we were going into this game, I felt like maybe we're denigrating the Seattle Seahawks a little bit too much. This is a team that came out of the bye, and when I talked to their beat writer for The Athletic, he talked about them solving a lot of things. So I thought they were playing a lot cleaner ball on defense in particular. I thought they took it up another notch today. This is a team that was playing in desperation mode today. They knew they lose this game, they're dead. So you're in their building. This is a tough environment. Give the Seahawks defense credit for coming to play today. And I know, your offensive line can't use that as an excuse. They got to step up to the game as well. But this defense played really well. This was a tough environment to come into. It normally is. And they just showed up today. This division is now going to be a slog, guys. We thought that they could pull away. Now it's anybody's game again. Maybe not the 49ers who are we're getting run today, but we'll see what the Rams do later. But it's a competitive division again. We don't know what's going to happen. The Cardinals are going to have to take care of business in some of these games coming up.
Yeah, I think some of our fears were realized there with this Seahawks team, things clicking, especially on the defensive side of the football, which is the strength of their first-year head coach, that it was tough to really recognize that when they played such undisciplined football, so it's kind of uneven before going into their bye week, and then they come out, they've got one game. It's very sample size, but now they've shown in back-to-back weeks that something's clicking there, and it's kind of a message to the rest of the division where we thought, the Seahawks were going to just go away quietly into the night, and that's not the case for this entire division. We'll see what the Rams have on tap in Sunday Night Football, Craig, but what was the overall kind of feeling from this team? Was it just pure dejection? Did they feel encouraged in any part of their performance today?
Somewhere in between those two. I wouldn't say that they were dejected or encouraged. They felt like there was a lot that they could learn. They just didn't feel like they put their best effort out on the field. And we talked to Jonah Williams a little bit, and he said they did throw some looks at him that maybe they hadn't seen, but they prepared for everything. It was a matter of execution today. You have to give the Seahawks some credit here. They performed today. But listen, this team's going to see them again in 2 weeks.
Yep.
They're going to get them at State Farm. I expect a response. I don't know what's going to happen in Minnesota, and this could be a 500 team by the time Seattle comes to town, but I would expect a response from the Cardinals in that next game at State Farm.
Absolutely. I expect everybody watching with our streaming partners on TV, jump on over to GoPHNX.com where the party continues. By the numbers, super chats, and more. Again, if you're watching with us on TV, streaming partners, head on over to GoPHNX.com. Become a diehard. Pick up a free hat and or shirt. Perfect time to become a diehard. Shop the number 18 collection now. And, of course, get access to our exclusive PHNX Cardinals member Discord, which I'm sure is off the chain with people very upset with Drew Petzing and company, the offensive line, and more. Again, check out Craig's work at GoPHNX.com. Craig, we'll get you out of here on this, my guy. Kyler Murray, how much blame does he get today, given the fact the Cardinals were held out of the end zone for the first time all season long?
I mean, we talked about the pick, right? That's a play that can't happen. That's an explosive the other way. You can't give that up. And we were just praising Kyler Murray for his ball security, but he's thrown 4 picks this season. If I'm looking for guys to blame in this game, he's not at the head of the class. I'm looking at the O-line first of all. So that's where it has to start. Kyler didn't have a great game today, obviously, but he was playing under duress most of this game, so I'm not going to lay that at his feet. Like I said earlier, any quarterback that faces that kind of pressure in this league is going to struggle.
Yeah, I agree. I don't. It wasn't his best game. No, he made some mistakes. Albeit that pick six was atrocious. But outside of that, he completed the football. He made good decisions for the most part today. He got the ball out of his hands when he could. But yeah, I mean, I don't care who you got back there. When you're looking at all defensive jerseys, the minute you catch the ball in your hands, it's tough. It's easy to say from the couch, like, oh man, I wouldn't have panicked. I would have done that. It's a little bit different when there's 275 plus men running at you at full speed. So. No, I agree. I wouldn't put the blame on Kyler, but there's things he's got to work on, things he's got to be able to see and make adjustments off of. But yeah, I think he threw for what 260, 270 today.
Yeah.
All right, we moved the ball. The ball was moved downfield in the rain, right? And he didn't really look outside of a couple of overthrows. It didn't look like he wasn't throwing well in the rain. But I mean, it's a tough game, and you get paid a lot of money to do it. You got to do it.
We appreciate you, Craig. Safe travels. Coach Stark Holmes presented Craig Morgan post-game show, my friend. Check out his work at GoPHNX.com. I'm sure a fearsome post-game article.
Yep.
Craig, we will see you this week, my friend.
All right, guys. Take care.
Yeah, more insights from the post-game there from Craig and his upcoming article, GoPHNX.com, from the head coach, from the franchise quarterback, playmakers, Michael Wilson, and Jonah Williams. So looking forward to that from Craig. And it's just, man, this is just the worst taste you can have in your mouth. I mean, this was the worst of all realities, this type of a performance, especially coming off a bye-in and really kind of stopping the momentum for this Cardinals team.
But I feel like I'm typically like the cynical one. I honestly feel like they're going to use it as a wake-up call. Like, think about what this team had before the bye. Yeah, they had a really nice couple of W's against Miami and the Chargers, right? And then they blew a couple teams out. And you're feeling yourself, and you go into the bye, and like the young players on this team all over the place, they lost their edge a little bit. Yep. And if you trust Jonathan Gannon to be the head coach of this team, like, he'll get that back. Does anybody feel like Jonathan Gannon doesn't have a pulse of this team? Like, I just find it funny. It's the social media reality that we live in where people are just like, Gannon's a bum, get Kyler off the team. It's like, come on. They were bound to lose a game at some point. Like, I am bullish on this team. I still think they can win 10 games. But, like, the fact that so many people thought, like, well, the Cardinals won 4 in a row, they'll probably just win out. No, like, they were going to lose a game eventually. So, like, I do think it's a byproduct of, like, think about it. The Cardinals were not even playing, like, most of the starters in their fourth quarters against the Jets and the Bears. And they were at home. They had home cooking. Like, this was a gross game in Seattle, inclement weather, right? Yes, they were healthy, and I think that's the toughest part. Is like they had most of their players. Gannon will get this right, and I think that we'll see a very different team against the Vikings next week.
You know what the worst part of all of this is it is unearthed from the grave the dead Kyler detractors out there who are coming back to play. They're in the chat right now. It's embarrassing that they won't even acknowledge how well he's played and saying that the Cardinals will never be anything with Kyler Murray at the helm.
They won their Super Bowl today.
This was their Super Bowl. Congratulations, guys. You going to Disney World to celebrate too? This one, it's just it's embarrassing.
They're still living off of the Super Bowl win. And they had the Legion of Boom.
Not to mention, Seahawks fan, all class in the chat today. All class from Seahawks fans. Good nonsensical arguments from their 14-year-old fan base that are in our chat.
Yeah,
insane.
Credit to their defense. They played very well. They got the job done. They did. No, absolutely. Thank you. You give yourself a like today. You deserve it. You came up big for your squad. It's after crickets though for weeks for the Kyler haters out there. It was a tough performance overall for the quarterback, for the offense. It's back to the drawing board. Yeah, I hope my co-host Johnny here is right. You hope that, and they have shown the response has been strong for the most part all season long. They're going to have to do it against a team that's 9-2. I don't know if they're necessarily what their record really says. They've struggled the last couple weeks with some teams like Caleb Williams threw for 340 yards. Kyler Murray and this offense is going to have a similar performance against this Vikings defense. You'd love to see them wake up to have a performance like that, and hopefully in a shocking victory. But as they pick up the pieces now, we want to hear from the franchise quarterback. We've got some
let's do
video. Damon, we'll take our time here with this. Let's start with Kyler Murray. The biggest play of the game was the pick six that he threw on a 4th and 1 play in the second half. The Cardinals were driving, and they got a second crack at it where he threw an incompletion to Michael Wilson. Next play was drawn up again for 14. Kyler Murray threw a pick six. What the quarterback saw that play happen? What happened?
A play that we've successfully run here in the past. 21 did a good job of redirecting. Obviously, he's a good player with good feel. So he kind of made it tough, to get the corner once I felt like I wasn't going to get the corner. Obviously, it's on me, can't give them 7 points, especially when our defense is playing the way that they're playing. I feel like if I don't do that, we're in the game 4 quarters, because that's the way it was trending. It's the defense. Defense is battling their ass off. Did everything that we needed for them to do to win the game. And offensively, we got to be better. We didn't hold up our end of the bargain and finish in the red zone.
Let's go right to Michael Wilson here, Damon. Michael Wilson, who was the wide receiver, and he was targeting on that route. His thoughts on the pick six.
Well, obviously the big play that I keep going back to that hurts was the interception return for a touchdown. Just didn't do enough good enough job, all parties involved, with executing that play, and like that. Not only is it a turnover, but it's an explosive play for a touchdown like that. That stuff could turn the momentum of the game and change the game, which ultimately I feel like it did. Not saying that was the only play that made us lose the game, but like that's a big one that can lead to a loss. But the ball is everything. You win the turnover battle, your chance of winning the game increases by a lot. So yeah, valuable.
I was terrified what was going to come.
I hope we don't get flagged for a shower scene there on YouTube. Thankfully, it was behind the scenes.
Hopefully, that was the play that Drew Petzing was ripping out of the playbook and flushing down the toilet in the background there. But some insight on the play that turned that game. What else do we want to get into here?
Let's do a little Desert Financial by the numbers.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's be horrified by this reality here. And actually, it's pretty even. 5 sacks allowed by both teams. I think the biggest area, not even the rushing, it's the third down efficiency. Good hell. Like, the Seahawks were 50%, and we've seen games where opposing defenses or offenses do much more. 3 for 12 for the Cardinals. And again, it starts with the quarterback, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray did not play well enough on third down, and a lot of I would imagine, like, of those 5 sacks, how many, 3 or 4 of them came on third down? It felt like a lot of those pressures the Seahawks were able to generate came on key passing downs. But, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I think these are all correctable errors. This is not something that you have to write home. But the Cardinals are done. Their season is buried. But in all actuality, it is a wake-up call for this team. Like, hey, we're probably not as good as the teams who were blowing out the Jets and the Bears, but we're not as bad as we showed today. They gotta play a great game next week to beat the Vikings on the road. There's no doubt about it.
The third down that's it, right? Because all the teams I played for, everybody has like a checklist that you look at Monday after the game.
Yeah.
And this is what we hit. This is what we didn't. And the Seahawks did it, right? The Seahawks are 50% on third down, and that's pretty much all coaches. That's their checklist. We need to be 50% or better on third down, and the Cardinals were well below 50%. And that just tells you how the game went. The Seahawks made the play they were supposed to make on third down to extend drives, and the Cardinals didn't do that.
Let me just the final scoring drive for the Seahawks skewed this third down efficiency. They were 4 of 10 going into that drive, and then go 3 of 4 moving the ball down the field. Every single one of the first 3 for 3 to start that drive were backbreaking.
Yeah.
That was a drive that kind of started off with Kazir White almost securing a huge pick that was not hit the turf before he could take it in as he dove for it. But, you look at that drive, they go 3rd and 6, convert it for 7 yards to Smith and Jigba, and then they get, the Seahawks backed up 1st and 20 after a holding call, and then they're able to convert. They get 18 on 3rd and 8, and then on 3rd and 4 they get 6 on a where they were just kind of giving up. They ran the football on that play that they picked up the first down. Each and every one of them were shots to the heart for the Arizona Cardinals and their fan base, because before that the Cardinals were doing a good job in getting off the field, forcing punts.
I think it's hard for me to be critical of the defense in any capacity.
No, I'm just saying that's just giving some more context to those numbers. They were worse than those numbers.
Right,
I think.
indicated for sure. You're right. Let's get back to these post-clip pressers here. Let's hear from the head coach Jonathan Gannon following today's loss at Seattle.
I think the value of the ball. I felt like the interception was a big play. I think we got to protect the quarterback better. Seemed like the pocket was collapsing a little too much. And that goes into all 11. That's not just the O-line. That's the quarterback, the backs, the receivers, timing, rhythm. I think that defensively, I got to do a better job when they start to play a certain style. We got to have a couple more bullets. That was completely on me because I wanted a tight menu this week, and that was not good by me. And so we'll just get back at it, fundamentals and everything that goes into winning and losing. That's what we'll look at tomorrow. I thought that they hung in there and battled, forced a bunch of punts, kept points off the board. I thought the interception by Garrett was fantastic, kept us in the game there, kept points off the board. But we made some mistakes. We made some mistakes, starting with me. I'll pick off at myself because I'm the first culprit. But then we'll get better as a staff, and the players will get better. Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought, though, we're going to learn a lot with our 4-man rush mechanics. I feel like we got to do a better job because a lot of his extension plays I felt hurt us. Off the top of my head, 2 or 3 conversions on third down when we're in 4-man rush. So we got to cover better and we got to rush a little bit better. But we knew coming in, Geno, he's a really good player. He can move and make plays and extend. But that's another thing that we're going to learn a lot from. We got to do a better job with that.
This Geno Smith era of football is so gross for a couple different reasons, but the biggest factor is Geno Smith, I think, is undefeated as the quarterback of the Seahawks against the Cardinals. We think about the glory years. You played against peak Russell Wilson and the Legion of Boom, and it's like, those are great Seahawk teams. My Arizona Cardinals can't beat Geno Smith. It's criminal. I hate it. Geno Smith, on average, you watch a red zone game, he looks awful.
Geno has played, since he's been in Seattle, this has been the best football Geno's played his entire career.
Yeah, for sure.
Which goes back to the point I made a super long time ago with scheme is everything in the NFL, right? Geno did not have great success in New York.
No.
Not at all, right? But then you move the fact to Seattle, and Geno fits in perfectly to this system.
Yeah.
Right? What Geno can do in the pocket, what Geno can do outside of the pocket fits in perfectly for this Seattle team. So, It's a lot of this is scheme, and this is the scheme for Geno, and Geno takes full advantage of it, and he does a really good job in staying in. So I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's tough as when you're a fan of the opposite
Yeah.
team that loses. It's tough to give it to them, but I mean, I played in this league for a little bit, and this is a hard game to be really successful in for anybody. It doesn't really matter. So, I mean, it's one of them things where you don't want to feel it, but Geno's done something that people want to do. He's coming to Seattle and he's had tremendous success, and that's why they paid him. Right? You get paid based off of good success and having success out there on the field, and Geno's done it since he's been in Seattle.
Let's get to Jonah Williams, the Arizona Cardinals right tackle today, and his first start back since week 1.
Well, it's good to be back out there. It's good to be playing again on the field with the guys. Obviously not the outcome that we wanted at all, but it was nice to be back out there. I think part of it was that we couldn't get the run game going, and that falls on all of us, and that makes it hard when you're in obvious passing downs pretty often. I feel like we're behind the sticks a lot. So it just comes down to all of us have to execute a little bit better on first and second down and keep us out of those obvious passing downs.
Seeing Yelda Froholt in the background behind Jonah Williams, it feels like they just pulled up in a Viking ship and they're about to take over your village. Doesn't it?
They didn't take over nothing
They
today.
did. That's true.
It's like that movie, How to Train Your Dragon. They were the Vikings. Seahawks were the Dragons today, just feasting in the battle pit. But there'll be better days ahead. Let's get to your super chats, Damon Dawg.
Let's do it. We got 20 left. Thank you for all that support, chat. PR Mac, $2 says, winnable game, offensive letdown. Fans expect more.
Agree.
Nick H, $4.99 says, offensive line was awful. No run game. Marv runs routes like he has to take a poop. Never thought the defense would have to carry.
That was a good one.
Brett, you played the game for a bit. Like, did you see the same route running from Marv? Like he was tapping into some Taco Bell before the game.
No, man. I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, though. Like with the comfortability with Marv and kind of how like you can tell when they try to force the ball to Marv. I just don't think it's the fit hasn't fit yet. If I don't know how to really say that, but that was a hilarious thing.
Here's what you want to see from Marv. You want to see a little bit more like Dawg from Marv.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Like
that's what you haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
Like you haven't seen the guy go out there and be like, okay, like game's on the line. We got to get a first down here. I'm running a slant. I'm going to catch the slant. I'm going to break this tackle. Right? I'm going to get this first down, and I'm going to do something. Like, do something.
It feels very like not tactical, but it just feels very like robotic.
Yeah.
It's a robotic approach from Marv a little bit right now where you don't get the
He's
emotion.
trying to
I
force
want the
things.
emotion.
Yeah.
I'm jealous you guys finished each other's sentences.
We knew
there.
where we were going with that.
Let me ask you this though, Brittan. I mean, with him not showing that he has, that real kind of dog in him, like obviously there's enough to get him to this point where he's the consensus top wide receiver in this class. He, the pedigree, who his dad is. You see the size, you see the athleticism. Is it just going to be a little bit more of a process because of that? Because he is a little bit more introverted, and it's just going to be him kind of having we as a fan base have to bide our time, and then he has to just kind of figure it out instead of just being that alpha out there?
It's just one of those things where it's good. Not everybody is Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase-esque, right? They not everybody's out there when they make that play. It's flash. The old Odell Beckham's like not to say anything wrong with it. I love that. I love when a guy gets up, makes a big play, and let him know. That's not what you get from Marv, right? So I think people have been conditioned so much to seeing receivers that type of receiver what we've seen for the last 8 to 10 years. The guy makes a great play, he gets up and lets you know about it, and then he gets back on the line and does it again, right? Marv is a little bit more reserved in that fact, but at the same time, we need to see more of that like takeover, that Dawg in Marv. You ain't even got the signal first. I don't care if you don't signal it, right? You don't want to dance, you don't want to do all that, spin the ball. You ain't got to do none of that. But what you do have to do is get open. You have to catch the ball. You have to get yards after catch. That's what we need to start seeing. We got to start seeing that, hey, that football player come out.
Let's get back to these super chats. Damon Dawg.
Let's do it. Caesar 499 leaves a super sticker. I don't know if Caesar had anything to say here. Oh yeah, he puts in K1 played horrible. Could be due to the O-line playing like dog poop. If we had D-Rob today, it would not have changed the horrible offensive play calling that we saw today.
It's true. Let's keep it going with Caesar.
Yeah, Caesar comes back with a 999, says the same thing. So thank you for that support, Caesar. We appreciate it. So good. You had to say it a few times. Love that.
Crushed it. Killing it, Caesar. Thank you for your super chats. Very generous.
So
Let's keep it going here.
Z Warlock 505. It seems like the refs flag both teams when it's obvious the Seahawks are undisciplined. Blocking the back by McBride was trash.
It was a bad call.
It was ticky-tack on the cards.
Looked like he was diving to make a tackle, and it just happened to be timing-wise, looked like McBride pushed him.
He saw the hands out. When you see the hands, it's like whenever you do something defensively, right? When you get a PI call, what's 99% thing you see from every DB is this.
Right.
They put their hands up, right? They're automatically going to throw that because you just told him you was guilty.
And I thought the holding call on Tip Ryman was a bad call.
That was a bad call. I mean, they were going to call it strictly because his hand was outside, but I didn't think it was worthy of a. But yeah.
Brian L, $5. Imagine being a Seattle fan in the chat. Clown emoji. Think he's talking to Mindbody and my guy Deadshot mostly.
We got to take it on the chin anytime we talk a bunch of smack. I see people in the chat saying, John, you can't keep calling people frauds. 100% I can't. I still think
welcome to this program.
I still think the Seahawks are frauds. Geno Smith has the same touchdowns as interceptions this year. The Cardinals lost to a team that I think is pretty average. I don't think the Seahawks, by the way, are going anywhere. I don't think they're winning the division. I think they're making the playoffs. Right now, unbeknownst to us, the Rams are beating fraudulent Nick Sirianni 7-3 right now. So that's something to watch. So I still would pen the Cardinals as the favorite to win the NFC West. The Seahawks, to me, they got to sweep Arizona, and they got to win a bunch of games in a row for me to take them seriously.
Did we find Johnny's burner for this next super chat?
What's that one?
Bo, the chemistry teacher, $2 says W equals O-line for 10 weeks. L equals new right tackle minus no injury.
Interesting. Bo, you care to respond to that?
I can't mess with the science there. So, yeah, I guess you're right, Bo, the chemistry teacher. You know your stuff.
Pick and Spreads Donnie, our friend 499, says need LA to win versus Philly. If that happened, it's a 3-way tie record and head-to-head. LA beats Seattle, Arizona beats LA, and Seattle beats Arizona, and Arizona has the best divisional record. So I believe that the Cardinals would stay top of the division.
I don't know. I feel like I need Philadelphia to win this game. I feel like the more Rams
so Seattle would slide down. As it stands right now, Seattle's atop the NFC West.
Well, yeah, it would be like the Rams have the tiebreaker over the Seahawks, so that would make it where it's a three-way circle, basically, and then the Cardinals have the division record second tiebreaker.
Of sorts.
Yes.
A gross thruple.
That would be gross.
Interesting choice of words there. Let's keep going.
Connor Watkins, $5. Do we think offense would have been more efficient with Beach? One thing I am taking away and something I already knew is Buddha impacts every play.
Buddha Baker, I mean, I was on the fence. Will they pay him? Should they pay him? If he plays like this, you have to pay him. James Conner, I would say, right now, the last two games, that's a concern. I still think he deserves a contract extension, but...
What do you mean? He went over 100 yards last game from scrimmage.
Yeah, but you go, I think, until, the Bears game or before where he's been really effective running the football. This 2 games in a row now where they haven't been able to run the football.
One, I will give you this. If you watch this football game, Seattle had 8 men in the box all game long.
Yeah.
Their goal was to stop this run. That was that was what they've been preaching since they, came back and beat the 49ers. But they put 8 guys in this box. They said, we dare you to run this football because we're not going to allow you. And they did. They stopped it. They stuffed it. Leonard Williams had probably his best game as a pro. I mean, he played.
He was available this offseason, by the way.
He was.
Could have been signed. Could have been a Cardinal.
Yeah.
Let's keep it going. Patrick T, $10. Says Vikings became a must-win. Look, defense was solid. O needs to figure it out. Vikings are a must-win now.
And we're going to talk about that the week ahead for the Arizona Cardinals and whether or not it is a must-win. But, I mean, it's certainly a game that you need now that maybe you didn't think you needed before this game.
It's an NFC game, so it's one of those things where it is a game you need to win, when it comes to playoff talk.
And the Vikings, big emotional win at Chicago. How many times can they do this? It feels like they're due for a clunker, barely beating Jacksonville, barely beating a bad Chicago team. They are poised to be upset next week. Can the Cardinals get it done? We'll find out.
9-2 though. I mean, 9-2 at home. After a performance like today, it's not the team you want to be seeing on the
Oh,
other
no,
side.
they're going to come to play.
I hear you, though.
They're living a charm life.
They are. I mean, they sneak by Jacksonville. They sneak by Chicago. They have not been impressive the last couple of weeks, but have been able to come out with dubs. The Arizona Cardinals are going to have to show that they can do that too.
Got almost 400 people watching, even more on Twitter. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Come over from the Twitter streets to YouTube. Get in the chat. Hit that like button. Z Warlock 505 $5 says this loss isn't going to sit well with the team, and it's not over. In 2 weeks, we're going to smash these Seahawks.
All right.
I think so. I think it'll be a
It'll be a
butt kick.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. I just think it'll be a different game offensively for the Cardinals. Hopefully, it's.
If it's not, it's a big problem. An indictment of this coaching staff for sure.
Problem.
Arjun, man, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I feel for you, my guy. 6-hour drive, $350 on tickets. First Arizona game ever. And damn, well, this is about as. This is a welcome to the fan base, my guy. Unfortunately, it's a lot. It's been a lot like this, but hopefully times continue to change, and we can get you in front of the watch the Cardinals in person, put up a better performance going forward.
Thanks for your super chat, Arjun, and thanks for staying patient on that one. Greg Hanlon, $1.99. Just waited 2 weeks for the no call, no show.
Yeah.
Dana R, $2 says Petzing is frustratingly inconsistent.
He was so good for like 4 weeks.
And here's what I will say also is like the vertical passing game too. We saw in Miami, and then they ran the football against the Jets and the Bears. Like,
yeah,
you need to be able to throw the football, Drew. Come on, Drew. Where's the passing game at?
I mean, the consistency is the scary thing though, because we were ready for his job the first 3-4 weeks of the season. And then we got to this little 4-game winning streak, and it was like, okay, he's dipped into his bag. We see, and there were times, right? I agree. Like that 4-game win streak, there was times where he was out there and he was calling games. Like I was impressed. And then you have all this success, and then you take a break, and it looks like you just went right back to,
Can't regress. You cannot regress, Drew.
He looked good against Shane Waldron, who was fired, and the Jets, whoever was calling plays post Hackett.
Janitor guy.
the janitor who was there that Monday when Hackett was demoted. Nick.
Fireman Ed, they brought him from the stands to call plays for the Jets. Nick O'Brien, $4.99. Question for BG. Do you think it's possible that defenses/DBs are playing MHJ a little more physical because of the hype?
I wouldn't say necessarily because of the hype, but I mean, he was a top 5 pick for sure. He got a lot of exposure coming out. I think it's just one of those things where DBs are going to come in here, and they like to do that, not necessarily against, just because it's Marv, but any young receiver that comes out there that's got, the hype behind it, yeah, that's where I would agree with you there. They're going to try to make a statement and say, hey, like, I'm going to be physical. I'm going to try to, throw you off your game and do things like that. But I wouldn't say it was a main thing for him. I think it's just, defensive backs trying to make a statement early, and Marv is like I said, he's a top 5 pick. That's not somebody. It looks good on your resume as a defender, right? If you can go out there and shut down and keep a top 5 guy, a guy that's been highly touted to be really good early in this league, and you can get your name on the board, is that somebody you stopped him? Yeah. So I mean, I would agree to you to an extent with the hype. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely pumps up a DB when he's got to cover somebody that's got a lot of hype behind him.
Ed Weird OL says $5 says Geno Smith outplayed Kyler today. The defense showed up today. The offense stayed at home.
I wouldn't necessarily say he outplayed him. Mm-hmm. I mean, he did. He converted the third downs. I'll give him that. Well, the third down, play, Geno outplayed Kyler on that note on the third downs. Outside of that, I mean, statistical wise, it was really even.
Yeah.
I mean, outside he had the touchdown pass, so I'll give him that. He wins in that.
He played better.
He
threw a red zone pick though. I mean, that was.
I mean, either way, he has the upper hand for sure.
Anytime the Cardinals score 6 points, Kyler Murray didn't outplay anybody.
Yeah.
We'll stick here with Ed Weird OL. $5 says basically says the same thing. Geno outplayed Kyler today. Defense actually showed up to play. Lack of true edge is notwithstanding.
Yeah, I mean, we joked about it, while the game was going on, like Baron Browning, like where is he? He had a rough game. I was texting Coach Starks. He said he looked bad in coverage and slow, and I think it's not fair to ask Baron Browning or Xavier Thomas to save this pass rush. And the Cardinals got home enough. They had 5 sacks, but like the sacks that we're looking for this team are fourth quarter, game on the line. Can you get off the field? And they don't have that guy. And the trade deadline wasn't going to fix that. So, you know, does Baron Browning, like, to justify the trade in my eyes, need to get some sacks? Well, hell yeah. Where are those sacks? But again, like, they are going to, I promise everybody, flood that position in the offseason. They're going to add a guy in free agency. They're going to take a guy high in the draft. They know it's a problem. They tried to trade for bigger names. It didn't materialize. So this is who the defense is.
It's
And
also his second week in this defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not to make any type of excuse for him.
Yeah.
But,
He's out of
it's
position.
still early. He doesn't know all the ins and outs of what he's doing yet. So it's kind of it's hard to play fast when you don't really know all the ins and outs of the defense and coverage stuff and what you're supposed to be at times. So, I mean, you know, it comes down where I'm not going to make an excuse for him. He's still got to play a little bit better. Everybody on this team has to play better if they want to win down the stretch. So, I mean, hopefully as the weeks go on, you know, he starts to feel a little bit more comfortable. You'll get a little bit out of the edge rusher.
He clearly $5 says, I'm hoping this will light a fire under this team. Time to get mad and be prideful.
Yeah.
They usually respond.
Yep. Gannon teams typically do. Dana R, $5. The pin and pull wasn't working. No adjustment to the trap or counter. Should have seen more drags and slants with the penetration.
Dana, you know ball. You
Hey.
absolutely know ball.
For sure.
Eric Madrid comes back $10. I think in response to his previous super chat, and says we gave up on the run before the pick six.
And I think the coaching staff identified they were getting whooped up front, and
from the moment, from the very
there was
first
no point it
possession.
felt like they had a rhythm offensively running the football.
I think Trey
at
Benson
all.
had 2 runs that were over 6 yards, and that was the only runs the entire game that were
It was
positive,
strange.
I felt.
They ran it on third down for 2 yards. Like they had something in their bag as far as on the fourth down play, and they went 0 for 2. So that was just a miss.
They had
they
2 chances,
misdiagnosed it.
and it progressively got worse.
Johnny Drama 22, our boy from Miami, comes in, says flush this one. Everyone here would have taken 6 and 5.
100%.
Good point.
100%.
Trevor Begay 199 says just want to win the division and go to the playoffs.
Yep, it's gonna be tough. We were foolish and naive to believe it was gonna come easy.
Yeah.
Taking spreads, Donnie 199 says gonna be at Vikes versus Cards. Let us pray, boys. LMAO.
Well, let's talk about Vikes versus Cards next week. The Arizona Cardinals, their second straight tough road game. Gentlemen, Bo, I'll start with you. Is this a must-win for the Arizona Cardinals? It's 6-5 now, tied for first in the NFC West, still ahead and in control of their own destiny. But does Kyler Murray need to play better and outduel Sam Darnold at home to get this dub?
No doubt about it. I mean, I think Kyler Murray has to be the best quarterback on the field going forward. That's just going to be imperative for this team to get right and to win the big games that are necessary to win the division, to secure a final spot of the 7 top NFC teams in the playoffs. It's really unfortunate because the opportunity was there today, guys. It was before the game. Obviously, we knew it was on the line, and then throughout the game, you just knew that they were just kind of putzing away a chance to, as you said, put this NFC West division on ice, and now you lock in for the foreseeable future for the rest of the way. There's just not going to be any comfortable lead in this division. You're in a dogfight the rest of the way. So you're going to need your quarterback. You're going to need your offense to step up. I think you really have to like how your defense has been playing, and it's done it consistently enough to where you can't just toss it up as like, oh, they took down the Jets, they took down the Chargers, they took down, the dysfunctional Bears. They're a good defense. I think they've proven that much to them. Now it's the offense to do what we thought we were going to see before the season even began was going to be the strength of this team. They've got to play like that the rest of the way, and they're going to have to flush this performance in order to do so. You got to lock in, buckle up, because this thing is just getting started.
I agree. I think he's got to go out there and make a statement this next week. There needs to be an emphasis on the pass game in practice this week.
100%.
We need to find a way to get this pass game rolling down the field. Right? We know he can throw the check down pass. Right? We know that. We know he can throw the underneath ball. We need to see this ball pushed down the field, but it's going to start with that run game. Right? This offensive line, they're going to have to light a fire. Somebody's going to have to light a fire during practice this week and say, this can't happen again.
Yeah.
We can't play in our backfield. We need our feet going forward. And if we can establish that, you can establish a run game going into Minnesota next week. And Kyler can put this together, have a solid game, have a good comeback game after a not-so-good game. I think this is a game that you can win, right? I'm not going to say you're going to win, but this is a game you can win. And offensively is going to be the key because defense has proven all year long that they can keep us in the game and allow us opportunities to win the game.
Every time people want to sell their stock on Jonathan Gannon and Kyler Murray in 2024, they rebound, sometimes in, miraculous fashion. We were at the Miami game, the Charger game, Monday Night Football, the 2 beatdowns before the bye. I'm willing to chalk this game up to maybe got a little high on themselves, took some time off during the bye, weren't ready to compete today. I mean, anytime you get beat in the line of scrimmage like that, when we know the Cardinals on paper, everybody said, had the advantage up front, didn't get it done. Like, you don't think that's going to be a message point with JG and Drew Petzing this week? Of course it is. And, here's what I will say. The Vikings have big explosive plays, and it's coming. Jordan Addison went off today. They've got Justin Jefferson, Hawkinson. I mean, they lit up the Bears down the field. So the Cardinals, Brittan, to your point, they got to be prepared to do that. The Marvin Harrison Jr., this on-again, off-again relationship, it feels like they have offensively with their 4th overall pick, that's got to change. You got to force feed him the ball. The Vikings secondary is I would say, lukewarm at best, where you can get in trouble. Same situation today. Is getting Kyler Murray in these 3rd and longs, and you let the Jonathan Grenards of the world tee off on K1. I think the Cardinals are going to give a night-and-day performance difference next week. I expect them to compete. The line is already out right now with our friends at Bet365. The Cardinals they're a 4-point dog. So on a neutral field, it's a pick'em game. I think the Arizona Cardinals, they're going to give us every reason to be 100% back in for the people who are off today, Bo.
You've got, and you look at the Seahawks team that gets the Jets next week. So they have the chance of coming in to State Farm Stadium 2 weeks from today, riding a 3-game win streak. Yeah. Very realistic scenario there, where if the Arizona Cardinals falter, they slip a game behind, and they're going to have to play catch up. Just starting and facing this team at home in week 14 of the NFL season, and then you've got some opportunities to get right against the Panthers team, against the Patriots team. But you don't want to falter, the next couple of weeks and really put yourself in a tough position where you have to kind of rely on other teams to get it done for you, where you can control your own destiny. And it starts, as Johnny pointed out, on the practice field come Wednesday with this team getting right and trying to, fix their flaws, their wrongs, in the film room tomorrow, in the film room Tuesday, and back on the practice field Wednesday.
Big thanks to everybody who came out to Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass. Big thanks to everybody who's in the chat right now. Get a free Pit Boss grill with our friends at Pit Boss. We'll drop some more info on that. Our presenting sponsors today, fantastic, Bet365, Sanderson Ford, everybody, Coach Stark Holmes, and of course, our guy Craig Morgan. Become a diehard and read his post-game article right now at GoPHNX.com. The party doesn't stop. We're not going to have a pity party. The shows continue. We're going to have complete coverage for tomorrow, JG and company. Hopefully K1's feeling good. Put this game behind us. In the meantime, drop a like on this video. We're lacking in likes. Get us up to 1,000 likes on this post-game show. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Bo Brack, Brittan Golden, Damon Dawg, Craig Morgan. I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you on Monday.
We all silly like the mayor.